Okay, welcome back to another episode of Secrets of Bridal Seamstress. Today we've gone international today. Okay, so I am with Kate Wooden, and she is a fabulous seamstress just north of Sydney, Australia. And we had a heck of a time figuring out what time we'd be talking to each other. So I actually logged into this call like an hour early because I couldn't look at the chart correctly. So, but we're here. We made it. And as we are getting into our fall season or kind of slowing down, Kate, you're totally opposite and you're getting ready to ramp up into spring.
Ready to run.
Wow. I just can't wrap my head around that. So we've already had some kind of fun giggles about like the differences of where we live. So I'm just so honored that you're here. This is super exciting. So, if our listeners have seen you on Instagram, they know of you as like the encourager on Instagram, and you're always like cheering us on and leaving sweet comments, and you're just a great like positive presence. So thank you for that. So tell us a little bit about how you started your biz. What does your sewing studio look like? Who do you love to serve? All those good things.
All those good things. Okay. I started to learn to sew as a brownie. And I went along to brownies. My mum was a brownie leader. So my very patient mother taught me to sew. And then when my nana died, I ended up with Nana's old sewing machine. And I think that Dad just saw me trying to use it. And so actually my last gift from my dad before he died was my sewing machine.
Oh, wow. That's so special.
Yeah, really special, special. And I was just sewing for myself, doing all that good stuff. And then I went to evening college and started to learn like little bits of couture work, but then like sort of more about just fitting jackets. And I found out I have uneven shoulders, so I now notice so many others, like the brides, they can be like, oh
yeah, seriously, they're like a unicorn if they actually match. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah. And then
so that was all for sewing for yourself, like you just kind of wanted to know for your own skill set. That's so cool.
Yeah. And I was only ever doing it for fun. And then my hubby got put onto this permanent late afternoon night shift. And so I was like, okay, my girls are doing ballet. And it was like, how do I do this? And because I was working at the hospital, my shifts were all over the place. And it was like, okay, right. What can I do from home? It doesn't have big overheads and I don't have to sell anything.
Yeah.
And so then I was there just talking to one of the mums at school. She said, Kate, I work at one of the shops. I can send people for doing hems. And I was like, okay. And I went home that afternoon and set up a Facebook group instead of a page and made my own little business cards, and all the mums from school just started sending me uniforms. And then
oh my goodness,
I started to have a few bridesmaids come through, and then the bridesmaids, I came to brides, and then and then I had this little boutique reach out to me and just sort of said, hey Kate, do you sew for anyone? I was like, no, I just sew what comes in my door. And she said, oh, can you come and have a look at my store, see if you can work with the things? And I went up there, I was like, beautiful fabrics, like really on trend gown.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
Wow.
And so then I just didn't have bridal seasons. I had bridal years with coming on.
Wow.
Yeah. So just this one lady, that opportunity, and it's just rolled from there. And this year in February, it was like 10 years since I started my business. So.
Oh my goodness. Congratulations. I had no idea that it was just that gradual. Like you literally start with some pant hems and then some bridesmaids and brides. And that is so cool. So it's like, you never had to think like, okay, where am I going to find clients? It sounds like they just always were kind of drawn to you.
Yeah, and I do, like sort of, I'm so grateful for the mums at my school from the very beginning, because then they would have friends who were bridesmaids and yada yada. And then I had this one bride, and she just had her dress altered elsewhere and had gone to buy a second dress after the
oh my goodness.
And she'd gone to someone that I had done, and she said, look, just call Kate. And it was like Sunday, 8 o'clock at night. She was getting married on the Friday. And I said, come now. So she came, and I just looked at it and I went, look, I can do it, but you won't get it till Thursday. I said, like, I have big week. Like, we had ballet, we had watching week, we had like sort of excursions to Sydney. I went, you won't get it till Thursday. And she came on Thursday and it fitted, and she just had tears, and it was just like so exciting. And then on the Friday, I got a phone call going, Kate, no one knows how to lace up a dress. Can you come? I went, I'm there. And so she was just my biggest advocate ever. I'm just saying yes at that last minute.
You like saved the wedding on multiple levels. So yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking to one of the girls yesterday, and she had like 24 hours before her wedding, and she picked up a dress, and they just hadn't taken it in right, and it had, they put on, she wanted some straps just so she could put some straps on the dress, but they made them like dance straps with big sequins and stretch, and it was like, it just looked,
oh no,
it just looked a little bit gaudy. And so then, yeah, in 24 hours, turn around, went and sort of fixed all up this dress and added proper bridal like beaded straps, and yeah.
So what you're saying is you're a miracle worker down there in Sydney. That is crazy. Like, so do you typically work with like, do you enjoy this like quick turnaround, or are these just the anomalies, or do you?
Yeah. Yeah, no, there certainly seem to be the anomalies. I normally like to, some people are different, but I normally like to say I'd like to see you 3 months before your wedding. One, so I could see the dress. Two, so I can see what needs to be done.
Right.
And three, to have time to do it and book subsequent bookings. Like,
right.
It was just being, I'm my own little cheer squad and working. And
yeah. Yes, exactly. Oh yeah. I 100%. I always feel like booking early enough is safer than kind of waiting till last minute, and then you just can't catch up, you know? So did you have a specific point where you wanted to focus on bridal sewing, or did it just kind of gradually happen, or?
I think it just sort of gradually happened, but I do love beautiful fabrics. Like sort of, I had one like Palace Couture dress come through, and it was like, she bought it secondhand, but just the detail, and I was like, oh my god, the luxury of the fabrics, and it was just like, it was it was so yummy.
So you have like the only sewing pretty things, like that's the standard, and
during lockdown, I had this guy ring me, ask me to replace a zipper in your sleeping bag. It was like, ooh.
No, you're like, yes, that does not fall into the pretty category. So how do we gracefully say no? Yeah.
No, I'm a bridal seamstress.
So have you, when you like worked with that shop owner who, you know, kind of wanted to have partnership with you, how did that work out? Were you still working like alone at home, or did you work in her shop, or what was that like?
No, I worked from home, like sort of completely separate to the shop. So,
nice.
They would pick up their gowns, and because sometimes they pick them up months before, like sort of, and then they would just ring and book with me, and then I'd book them in my little thing. But I learned very early on, I would not book the subsequent booking at the time of booking. Like, I would just think, oh yeah, well, I'll just get to the next stage and then I'd book them in. But I definitely found the way I work better was to have the next appointment booked at that time. So then I knew my own time frame, which sort of now works in with my girls who are both doing dancing, like sort of, and working at McDonald's, like sort of that constant, because hubby's at work. It's just like that constant trying to be there and get them there and do all that sort of stuff.
Right. Yeah, that sounds just like a really busy phase that you're in with like the girls, all their like extra stuff, and then working, and then you kind of balancing it all. So that's a lot. And one of the reasons that we wanted to talk was about focusing on just staying positive and being your own cheerleader when you work alone. And I love that you brought that up, because something that I think that we don't realize that we do it, or that we have to do it. And so the fact that you kind of drew attention to that, and like, we're responsible for our own like positivity sometimes, you know? So, and like, I think for a lot of listeners, like there are people who, whether they have their own shop outside the home, or whether they're still working at home, or they have like a home studio or whatever, or like, we're always sewing by ourselves. I shouldn't say always. I think there's some people who, have employees or whatever, but like, there's a lot of alone time and like alone thoughts that come in and insecurities that come in. And so, I'd love to just kind of dive into that a little bit. So how do you, like, what are your favorite things to do during your like alone sewing days? Cause I think that like, I can see that you're pretty social like me. So I love like my fitting days where I'm like, oh, and I'm just like talking to all the brides and like,
it's because we've been silent for so long, Nadine. It's because we've had to be quiet and concentrating. And then suddenly it's like,
exactly. It's like, got to get it all out, So, what are your favorite ways to spend the time when you're like sewing by yourself and quiet?
Well, you're probably going to laugh, but I listen to historical romance books like on my Bluetooth headphones because generally hubby's sleeping during the day. So all the love of the dukes and the duchesses get sewn into my gown.
You're like sewing the romance into the bridal dresses. I love it.
I am for the happily ever afters. And that's the thing with the historical romances. They're always happily ever afters.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So generally doing that. And then I also think with just I have shutters in my office as well. But just tilting them and let that natural sunlight come in, it just like it's the perfect positioning.
Yeah.
And I think once you've got that sort of natural light coming in, it just, I don't know, it gives you that natural calmness. But also dealing with the beautiful fabrics, like
you love what you do, so it makes it like a lot easier,
absolutely.
So when you're okay, so before we were recording too, I was sharing how like I was so excited about this conversation because this morning I got an email that kind of made me feel like, oh man, it was an email from actually a previous bride. So she's already had her wedding, which was weird. And it just kind of gave me weird feelings. And it's like, okay, I just kind of had to sit with it. You know what I mean? Because I didn't have coworkers to chat with it, or I didn't have, my boss to send it to, like, hey, can you look at this email? Like, how do I respond? It's like, oh, that's me. So those like really protecting like our mindset or thinking about how clients affect us is really important, or else we would go crazy, so
absolutely.
So what are things that you've like taught yourself, because you've been doing this for 10 years, you've been working with brides for that long? What are some things that you've taught yourself along the way that keep your head on straight and focused on the right stuff?
Well, I think because I'm already focusing on the beautiful fabrics, but then like, so I think because I love seeing the end result, and like sometimes it's when you put a bride in the gown and it's finished, it's like, I forgot what I did. I forgot how it fitted. And I'm not sure whether a lot of the girls do, but I tend to draw my dresses in my book as I'm sort of whatever I've got to do. And so then it sort of reminds me of what I have to do, but also like sort of, it's like, wow, how did that fit before? And then knowing that you're going to change that, it's just like, okay, I'm in this process of always moving forward and sort of doing the things. I think being a positive person really helps you to just being able to go, okay, we just got to get in, get this done, and we'll be all okay. I know that we were just saying, like, sort of, if you were working in a big team, you wouldn't be the person, the one to deal with all the Instagram and all the emails and all the Facebook messages, and then trying to order your own fabrics, and then trying to like sort of doing all that sort of stuff. That you're a one-man band. And so if you're not your own leader, then you're just not going to have that way to keep yourself going. I think that.
Yeah, that was so good, because it's like, we kind of lose sight of that it's like, why do I feel kind of discouraged or tired, or like, I really can't respond to this email right now? And it's like, well, take a step back and think of all the things you are taking on that, normal people who go to their 9-to-5 jobs or whatever, they're not taking on those emotions or that like weight, And I think there's, obviously, like, there are more pros that outweigh the cons in this industry, or else we wouldn't be doing it. So like the amount of, like our percentage success rate is like super high, but then every once in a while, somebody will kind of like crawl in from out of the out of the woodwork. That was really difficult to say. Crawl in from out the woodwork. What is the phrase?
Crawling from out of the woodwork.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah.
Well, that's how we say it in Australia.
Something about the woodwork. Yeah, they just get in your life. And then it's like, that is what I know that I can just really hyperfixate on. Do you ever get that way?
Yeah. But then I did the Brenda from Bridal Sewing Technique was just telling us a story once about how a lady's mum just said, I don't want you to do my dress, blah, blah, blah. I'm not meeting you at the studio. Come meet me here and hand over the dress. And almost when
I need to look back. We need to get this episode in the show notes. What? I've never heard this one.
Yeah, no, she was just talking about this story, how things just didn't fit well with whatever happened, that she had this dream and whatever. You'll have to get, okay. But then it was like almost that I go, right, if this doesn't fit with me and her, then that's okay. Like sort of, I'm not losing anything. She can go somewhere else. Like sort of that all my own work speaks for itself.
Yeah. My own work speaks for itself. Yeah. Yes.
Because like just recently we had our Bridal Industry Awards and I got highly commended and it was just like and it was like, yeah, I'm still doing a really good job, and I'm still, obviously the brides that I am servicing are the ones that I've clicked with, that they've gone through to vote. Like it's not one of those ones that anyone can vote, but it's actually the brides that are actually voting within it. So
that's awesome. Congratulations. That's a huge deal.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just little old me.
That is awesome.
And my tears God went, yay.
Yeah. Your inner cheerleader. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So how do you so how would you change the narrative in your head? Like if you're kind of on a one track way, like thinking about like, maybe you're feeling behind, or I know you mentioned like you love seeing the transformation, kind of focusing on that end result, but do you kind of have a system of like, okay, I'm noticing that my thoughts are really staying like negative, or I'm focusing on whatever, like this email or this past experience from a bride or whatever, you name it. How do you just like shift that thinking? Because I get that question a lot from seamstresses who reach out and they're just having like a rough time. And because we work alone, we don't realize everybody literally goes through this, and we don't want to talk about it, but it's like everybody has instances where it's like, yeah, we've had a disappointed client or two, or like maybe more. Like I was saying, like this year, I'm like, well, it's just something kind of weird in the air, or the expectations are different. You know what I mean? So it's like, we're not alone in those experiences or those thoughts, but what do you do to like, okay, turn it off, and we're not focusing on that?
Yeah, I think like sort of it's also, I don't know, brides have had a lot of time in their head because of COVID. Brides have had an awful lot of time in their head, and a lot of our girls, like I'm still having them coming through that have had to replan and replan and replan. And I think being aware of them and just going, okay, right, she must be having a hard day. Okay, she's having the hard day, I'm not having the hard day. Okay, and right, put that back onto her and respond, just go like in your professional thing. And I think that's the thing of like having to learn to be professional when you really go, are you sure you really wanted to send this email to me?
That is so good. Yeah, it's like, I know that. Did you know this wasn't just a draft, that you actually sent it? Yeah.
Or so something I've had to learn to do is become a little bit politically correct if that's the look you're after. Like sort of if your dress is falling off you on one side, okay, if that's the look you're after, and then generally they go, maybe not. It's like, maybe. And like, so when you have like the mum going, oh, can you, like, I'm just wondering about this bit down here. What we just got to start at the top and then work our way down. And I think just sort of having that calm sense, like you're excited for them for having their wedding, but having that calm sense of being able to, wait, where's my priorities? What have I got to do? Okay, I start from the top down, because there's no way I'm going to hem it if I'm pulling it up at the shoulders. After. Like,
exactly. Yes. So one I'm hearing, which I think is so cool, is like you just have a really healthy view of yourself. Like you're really confident. And I think that's a great secret too, is like you have confidence in your skills and in your relationships with your brides and what you provide. And I mean, correct me if I'm hearing it wrong, but I feel like that's a really good driving force for you.
Yeah. I think
that's awesome.
I have been through quite some things, like sort of with losing dad, and then we lost our first baby as well. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
And I think that completely changed who I was and what I was willing to accept in my life, and my emotions, like sort of, and I think I try to tune out of a lot of the little bits and pieces that could be really icky. It's just like, right, that's a little bit icky for you. I'm just going to keep on, and I've got to do what I've got to do.
That's awesome. Like, it really changed your perspective of like, what is important enough to focus my energy on, or what's important to let it go and not be my thing. You were earlier, you were saying, they're having a bad day, but I don't need to have a bad day or whatever. And I was like, oh, that is so good. It's still in your control of how it's going to affect you.
Yeah. And it's your perception of what you're seeing. Like, sort of, they come in and they just go, oh my God, I've lost so much weight. And yet they go, okay, my dress doesn't fit. I don't feel so lovely. Well, why not? How about if we did this and pulled this in here and pulled this out, then it would fit you. Like, sort of, and then it's like, oh. And like, we're just starting to get into formal season as well. And I just had a young girl come through and she goes, Mum, will Kate know what to do? And I was just like, Kate does bridal. Like, sort of, I don't take on very many formals, but Kate does bridal. And like, so it's just like, just knowing that skill set, like, sort of can really change. And I just went, how about we add some pads into your dress? And she just went, I don't want padding in my dress. And almost as soon as I showed her the look from the style of her dress, she was like, I really like this. And I was like, I think because we're constantly dealing with things like, right. Like, like I could see that this would potentially work. And this is what I say to a lot of my girls. Like, I can see that this would work, but let's just try it. And then if it doesn't, I've got other options. Like, so, and it's always having that open mind of being, there's other things and there's other ways to behave. And
and I think probably your confidence is what really sets your clients at ease too, because when they know that like you have game plan, you know what you're talking about, you don't have that urgency of like, oh, I need to explain myself or prove myself. It kind of like just lowers the temperature a little bit in the room, you know. It's not this like match of like who knows what they're doing in this room. It's like, okay, you do. And then it just kind of chills everything out. So,
I remember you saying that you play music when you have your brides in. I don't. I have no music at all.
Oh, that's very brave. Okay.
I think because I'm concentrating on what I've got to do, that would distract my mindset. Like, sort of that I'm very focused sort of what I'm doing. So,
that's so funny. Because I'm like, when I don't have it playing, it's like, ooh, it's really quiet in here. Like I feel like, oh shoot, I forgot to turn my mood music on, you know? That's so funny. Yeah. Well,
I want your playlist though. I want your playlist. You're going to send me playlist.
Oh yeah, that's right. I got to get the playlist out. It's like nice, like slow romance songs that just kind of like, you know, adds that little zen factor. So, okay. So I kind of jumped the gun because I was really excited to hear about your like tips for staying positive, but I want to go back to like working alone, because if people are listening to this, chances are they're currently sewing alone or working alone. So, when you kind of already mentioned this too, with, you know, we, as a one woman show, you know, we encompass all the roles, like, you know, answering the emails, doing the sewing, hosting the fittings, posting on Instagram, all the things. So what do you think, maybe you've already answered this, is like the hardest part of that? Is it wearing all the hats and not having the messages filter through a boss? Or what is, I guess, the hardest part of all that?
Yeah, like I think that is the thing, because you are the one and only, and it's not like your husband understands what you're going through, and it's not like sort of
they try. I mean, they do try.
They try, and your best friend, because like sort of you're like sort of you're representing yourself. You're actually like doing you're doing so much and for so many people. And I think that just having that time to be able to look at where do I need to focus so I can keep going forward. And for me, it's like looking at the steps I need to do. Okay, I see a bigger picture, right? I'm not as dedicated as one of your girls that you'd interviewed who said, I only answer emails at blah, blah, blah time. And it's like sort of, normally I'll try. But
yeah. Oh, that was Adrienne. That was awesome. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I got to write that down. Yes.
Yeah. But like sort of maybe with doing that can allow us to go, right, this is my time for here, and then I can positively move forward onto the next thing, and just seeing like the next step forward, like sort of that it's not just like a sprint race, that we actually have a marathon that we get through in just one day. Like,
right.
Sort of, we have so much that we're going through, and I really feel that that's the progress. I like progress. I like those. Sort of the process of progressing. Like, sort of,
absolutely. Do you feel like that changes like seasonally? Are there certain times a year where like your part of your job is more difficult and other parts become harder, like throughout, I don't know, like
like sort of, definitely our spring summer season is generally our massive time. And I have a little piece of guilt, and it's my daughter's birthday is the 15th of December, and I normally have been running on empty before that every year. And my other daughter's the 19th of November, but like I said, I seem to have enough. And then we've got our ballet concerts, and then we've also got all the brides, because I want to shut down. It was something that the bridal store taught me. You need to book in your holidays. So I shut down from before Christmas till after my birthday, which is like the 11th of January. Like
oh my goodness, wow,
that whole time out.
Good for you.
And I will be working, but I won't see people. So if the girls and I want to go to the movies or whatever, but it's just like sort of going, okay, I know I'm already running that trundle wheel before I get to that time. And just having that, once again, the little progress in the process, like sort of steps. I know that I am moving forward. It may have just slowed down a little bit by that time, because I'm just running on empty. I'm like sort of working till 2:30 in the morning when my husband gets home and saying, hi, sweetheart, and then getting up at 6 to get the girls off to school. Like sort of
my word. Wow, Wonder Woman over there.
Oh, but like he's been doing this for about 10 years. So like sort of it's just you just have to do it. Like sort of there's no real sick days.
Yes. Oh, I know. We talked about how both of us, we were sick earlier this summer, and this, like the worst part of being sick, I felt was like not so much being sick, but the catch up and knowing
the rebooking.
The rebooking was, I had to reschedule 17 appointments in 1 week. And I'm like, why? So that was the hardest part, was just like, thankfully, like you said, I could still sew, like, so I wasn't super behind on the work, the sewing part, but but the face-to-face appointments, it was super stressful. And I feel like that was just really hard to like catch up on, and those are the things that you just can't foresee. Like you don't expect to get sick. And especially like, I don't really expect to get sick in the summertime, but maybe that's a sign that I need to slow down a little bit in the summer if I'm my immune system's down. Like, I don't know.
maybe it's time to have like sort of, and that is like sort of the thing of having a break, like sort of my Christmas break is a real break, and it's in the middle of summer, like, so it's
which is also mind-boggling, because you're talking about that. I'm like, wait a minute, that's Christmas. How are you not? Oh wait, what?
I never had white Christmas. I've worn a white Christmas in one day in my life. I want a white Christmas.
That is so funny. So like, okay, this has nothing to do with, we're totally off topic, but like, what is the temperature on Christmas morning typically?
Oh, some days it can be 25 degrees Celsius, 30. Like,
wow. I don't know what that means, but I know that it's warm, because you said it was 15 today and it was like 60 degrees. So that is toasty. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah.
But then sometimes we end up with like summer rain. So you end up having a rainy Christmas day. Like sort of.
Wow. Yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah.
So crazy to think about.
Well, my mum was one of 12 children. So we would have 50 of us in my grandma's backyard every year.
Oh my
under
gosh.
tents.
Like, it's like Christmas barbecue. That's so funny.
And it was a roast dinner. Like, it was a full-on roast dinner. Like, grandma would make for all of us. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my word. But like you said, it's a season, you know, like we have these like stressful weeks or whatever, but we know like, okay, this is not a 365-day career, like for the most part, you know what I mean? It's like we have this ebb and flow. So it's like if you can just kind of put your head down and get the work done, and you know, like, okay, like for me, I'm like, hoo, okay, it's kind of slowing down a little bit. I have a full month this month, but it's like I just know that the end is near, and I don't have like a bazillion dresses in my shop right now, which feels great. You know, I see like my line just like slowly getting like shorter. So I'm like, I'm getting there. So, do you have other seamstresses like in your area, or who do you connect with around there?
Really, the connection I have is my lady who does the embroidery. Like, she does the embroidery as well as like general sewing and stuff.
Yeah.
And like generally if people are asking me to do different things, I'll funnel them off to her.
That is so great. Yes, to have that.
Yeah.
So what are your favorite like community resources? And it can be like online or it can be in person too. When you're having like a lonely day, what do you do for community?
Well, I'm the president of our Girl Guide support group. So these amazing women just fill me up so much. Like, they're just, being in that community with these amazing ladies, just amazing.
Wow.
I'm currently organizing a car show.
Oh my wow, you never cease to amaze me. Okay, that's another skill.
So like sort of there's other things on the plate that are happening that keep me within the community. But then it's like sort of how amazing to reach out with like my friends and my other businesses to say, hey, just wondering whether you could help out with the Girl Guides, which is support sort of doing that. So like sort of
I love that. Yeah.
And my mum and dad met through guiding and scouting. So like sort of having that has just been so beautiful. And then having my girls go through guides as well. So, but so that is my so part cool. Of my community. The thing that I will not book appointments over, I will actually go to all of my meetings for guides. That's because awesome. I just absolutely love them.
Yeah. And you need it. It's like, it just keeps you balanced. You know, I think with every career, like if you are just so like focused on the work and you don't have actual like hobbies or interests like outside of work, it's like, ooh, something's wrong. And it could be so easy for us because like you said, we're doing all the things. So it can be easy to just overbook and then not have time for a life. But I know that like sometimes if I'm like just having like a weird, I don't know, a funk or something, it's great to have like some girlfriends that I can, you know, connect with, or just like having my life outside of work is so necessary. And the fact that you're in like a community, and like I know like a lot of listeners have like a church group or some other kind of like, you know, a consistent like fellowship that outside of the work. That's awesome. So
because there is so much time that we're not talking and we're not with people, and most people are at work when we could be at home and chatting and things like that. And it's so different to being your own boss and having to do everything, right? But then also having that time to think. Yes, everything you've got to do as well.
That's got to go somewhere. Yeah.
But
I know,
talking about positivity and stuff, like sort of I had this one lady when my girls were really small, and she saw me at the shopping center and she just came up to me and she just said, "You are doing a really good job." And I went, as a mum, it's not something you would say to yourself, but then after that, almost every time, like sort of any interaction I'll have, I'm just saying, "You've done a great job. I'm so proud of you. What an amazing experience." Knowing how much that did affect me from that one person and that one time. And when you were talking about sharing resources and stuff, there was one of the girls in Queensland who just reached out to me and said, "Hi, Kate. Just wondering, where do you get your resources from?" And it was just like, I just listed everything off that I could think of, where I go and what I do and who I got. And she was like, "Oh, thank you so much." And it was like, and then I was saying, go watch Brenda. Like sort of, you just got to watch Brenda.
Yes, exactly.
She's my go-to girl. but then the funniest thing was I found there is a Kate's Alterations in Oxfordshire. And it was like, oh my gosh, it's not just me.
You guys need to be like best friends now. It's like a sign.
Yeah.
I think I know who you're talking about though. Yes. You need to like make a reel together or something and like throw everybody off. Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like once you know, kind of like that secret sauce, you know, of how to keep up with the business and like, you know, stay connected with other seamstresses or keep learning, you know, from Brenda, whatever. It's like, and then you share that. That's just awesome because there's always somebody who hasn't figured it out yet and not they're doing anything wrong, but you know, we're all just in different stages. And so being able to kind of like pass those little nuggets along, that's awesome.
Yeah, I am last year I actually won for the Bridal Industry Award for Newcastle and the Hunter Valley area. Okay. Now that's 45 minutes away from me. It is a massive area. It's where I grew up. So like it was just crazy. And then Brenda puts a shout out on her YouTube of my result. Like, and it was like, gosh. Oh my God, that community of this one lady has just like, I was like, I'm there telling my sister and just like, she just didn't understand like how big it was for me that Brenda was there shouting me out.
Yeah, that's huge.
And when you reached out to me to was like, I'm just a seamstress in my little office sewing. Like,
oh no!
Like, oh my God, this is just It was like the biggest like sort of ooh.
It's like you're doing the thing. You're totally doing the thing, and everybody needs to know about you. So that. So for listeners, what are 3 practical steps? And you've already given us a lot of tips. But 3 practical steps that listeners can do this week if they're feeling isolated.
Okay. Clean your room.
Oh, okay.
Clean your room because it's amazing how that changed your mindset. Like sort of
100%.
This is like sort of I only have the computer out in the big room, but like sort of was like if I was to put you guys in my office, like sort of where would I face you so that you wouldn't see that what I was thinking was a mess? But then when it's like sort of I'm looking, it's a workspace.
Exactly. And I know.
Yeah. So clean mind, clean workspace. It's that sort of
fresh start. Yeah.
Fresh start. And having a cup of tea with a biggie or a piece of chocolate, like sort of that certainly is like sort of something. It's just like warming your hands, and you can just taking that time away from the machine, taking that time away from your area. I think that's the thing, taking that time away. And I think that was where like at least in the room and I can shut the door, and then I still have my house as my area. Like,
right.
Yeah, but saying that, when you walk in my door, there's like 2 big racks full of gowns and my steaming station. So we just don't go anywhere out past that front edge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think also just talking, like sort of when you have your brides in, have those moments of being able to share their excitement and then once you sort of hear what they're doing, like I have a lady who's eloping and she just like was so excited to tell me the secret. I was like, oh, I like secrets. I like.
Yeah, you're enjoying your clients, right? That's like a gift of the trade, is to just enjoy who you're working with and not feeling like, okay, get through the next one, but just enjoying where you are. Yeah.
And it can feel overwhelming if you're looking at your rack going, oh my goodness, the next one.
Right.
If you just break it down, okay, I have 2 hours to sew now before the girls finish school. What can I get done in those 2 hours? Then okay, that's done, and then move on to the next thing.
Right. Yeah, I think that's when stuff gets to my head, is when I'm feeling like, oof, I'm not close to being done. You know, that's when it's like the weird feelings come in. So, and it's funny because the things that you mentioned are kind of counterintuitive, like taking time away to clean the room, taking time to just sit away from the machine. Yeah. And then just actually enjoy being in the presence of your brides instead of like just keep cranking away.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I think all those things just kind of give you a little reset and remind you of like what it is that you love to do and enjoy being in the moment. And I think too of how many people would love to work alone or like create their own schedule or, have this, just an opportunity to like create a business for themselves. And we can kind of get stuck in like the day to day and lose sight of like how cool it is that we get to do what we do,
Yeah. It was like my girls had their ballet exams the other day. It was just like, I just wiped the whole day off. And it was just like, okay, we're all about getting these girls ready and getting them all settled and getting them to the place on time and stuff. And then, and then I came home and actually fitted in another fitting.
Well, if there's time, might as well, take advantage of it. So yeah, exactly. Make good use of it. Well, I feel like everybody needs to be your best friend. So where could people find you to get to know you better or follow your journey or learn more about your biz?
Yeah, you can all come find me.
Yeah.
Come
take a trip.
Me. On Instagram, it's Kate's Alterations. And on Facebook, it's Kate Wooden Alterations.
Okay, so I'll have links to both of those in our show notes. Yeah. And
I was just gonna say, I'm gonna send through my little sign so you can put that up for the ladies.
Yes. Yeah. So that's
says,
in your sewing room, right?
Yeah, that's normally my whole sewing room was designed around where that was going to go on the wall.
That's awesome.
The guy came to install the mirror, and I was like, no, not in the middle. This has got to go to here.
It says beautiful things happen.
Come
what
together
is it?
One stitch at a time.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Sometimes it is about taking that step back. Okay, I've just got to get through this moment to then get on to the next thing. Like sort of rather than going, oh my God, I've got 2 racks full of gowns I've got to do.
Yes. Yeah.
And then sometimes by breaking it down, it's like, that's an achievement. Yay, go this cheerleading.
Yeah.
Yeah, cheering me on. Let's get this one done.
Exactly. Each little victory. Got to celebrate that each moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Kate, so much. I'm really excited to get this episode out and just encourage the listeners. So thank you for your joy and for being our constant cheerleader.
I'll always be cheering you on.
Yes.
You can do it. That's the other thing. You can do it. You can do it. And you just make it work.
Yeah.
Make it work.
Just make it work. And if you feel like you're the only one struggling to make it work, you're not. So you just got to keep talking. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Kate. We'll talk to you soon.